for me, the practice of irrigating, of distributing the water, doing what I call water justice, really connected me deeply to my heritage and to my blood ancestors, my ancestors, and and I could feel that this, irrigating was in my blood, is what I was trying to say. One time when I was irrigating, I was near the county road, Garcia Lane, and this Mustang drove slowly and stopped near where I was. I was like, 20 yards from the fence and the road. And it was like a Mustang with dark windows, and it stopped adjacent to me. And the window came down, and I walked over, and I could see that it was two teenage girls. And they said, "Do you know where Miguel Durera lives?" And I said, "Yeah, he's my neighbor. So you go over, you go up the road H." And they said, "Okay, thank you." And the window goes up, and they turn around, and I can see them going, following my directions. And about that time, I felt like a beer. So I walked to the house, and as soon as I walked in the house, the telephone rang, a landline. And it was Miguel Durera, who was the county judge and my neighbor, and a very, very wonderful man. So the phone rings, and Miguel Antonio, he says, "Come on over. I have something that I've been wanting to tell you for a long time." I said, "Well, I got cow shit all over me." And, he said, "No, it doesn't make any difference. Come over. I know what that's like. No problem." And so I drive into his place, and there are all these people, all these cars. There's a big tent set up. Everybody's all dressed up. And, I see the Mustang with the tinted windows parked, way at the edge of where everybody else is parked. And I figure it must be like a graduation ceremony, because it's that time of year of graduation. So I said, I can't be here like dressed like this. So I started to turn around, and Miguel Antonio appears at his front door, and he's waving. He sees me, and he's waving like this, "Come, come, come." So what could I do? So I park, and I walk to the front door where he is, and people are looking at me like, "What the hell are you doing here, dressed like that? Don't you have any manners?" And so he takes me into his house, and he takes me through all the people that are in his house to these back rooms. And in one back room, there are two rocking chairs, and we sit facing each other in these rocking chairs. And he says, and this is a very eminent man, and really kind and helpful to me, and just goes out of his way to stop and give me advice about irrigating or anything else, about life. He says, "I've always wanted to tell you why our two families are so close." And he says, "When my great-grandfather, who was also Miguel Antonio Durera, was essentially migrating to the San Luis Valley from down south near Bernalillo, he brought his family and extended family and lots of animals, and they came up the Chama River, and they were planning on spending a couple of weeks on the trail before they got to here, where where his ranch is, where my neighbor's ranch is." And he said when they got to Abiquiu, on the Chama River, there was a huge spring blizzard, and they got trapped for 2 weeks, and they ran out of supplies to eat. And they needed some grain for their animals, which they had run out of. And fortunately, there was a store in Abiquiu. So this is way back, like in the 1850s. And so Miguel Antonio, his great grandfather, went into the store, and there was a clerk there behind the counter, and he explained his situation to the clerk and said, we got stranded, we ran out of supplies. Could you give me the supplies we need on credit? And when I, get settled and sell wool and sell lambs, I'll come back and pay. And the clerk looks him up and down and said, it's all in Spanish, right? And he says, no le conoce. I don't know you from Adam. I'm not going to give you hundreds of dollars worth of supplies and never see you again, perhaps. Wow, he just didn't know what to do, because it was a long way back to Bernalillo. And this was his opportunity to go and settle into the San Luis Valley and claim land. Well, there's another man in the store who was sitting by the fire, and this man got up, the stranger, and he came over and he put his arm around Miguel Antonio, my neighbor's great grandfather, and he said to the clerk, you give this man whatever he wants, and you put it on my bill. And so they were able to continue. And then he leaned over to me and he said, that man was Reyes Gonzalez, your great grandfather. And that's why our families have always been close, because of that generosity. And that's how we live here. One of our key values that we all share is generosity.